Welcome back to Mind and Harmony Sports, where we explore the intersection of performance and peace of mind. I'm your host, Ativ Mathur, and today's episode takes a deep dive into the inner world of young athletes, specifically those competing in high pressure individual sports like fencing. We're joined by Dr. Chen, a seasoned psychologist with over 15 years of experience. And today we're going to talk about performance anxiety, resilience, burnout, and how mental well being shapes athletic identity. It's a bit different, but it's definitely a very fun, interesting, insightful episode. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. Thank you so much for listening. Hi, Dr. Chen. Welcome. Let's start with the basics. What makes individual sports like fencing such a hotbed for mental strain?
Thanks, Ativ. So individual sports demand not just physical precision, but immense psychological endurance. Unlike team sports, the athlete faces wins and losses alone. This heightens performance anxiety, increases risk of burnout, and can even lead to identity issues where athletes overly tie self-worth to their performance.
Oh, that makes sense. And I imagine like the silence around mental health in sports does not help.
Absolutely. There is still a lot of stigma. Athletes are taught to be mentally tough, but not always taught how to be mentally well. That silence fosters self-doubt, chronic stress, and in some cases, even disengagement from the sport altogether.
Wow. Resilience, it feels like it's a buzzword in sports, but what does it really mean from a mental health standpoint?
Resilience isn't just toughing it out or ignoring one's emotions. It's the ability to adapt and regulate emotions and bounce back from setbacks. And to do all that without damaging your mental well-being. It involves a self-awareness, the ability to reframe your thoughts, and emotional recovery.
Oh, how do athletes begin to cultivate that, especially when they're young and like, they're still figuring themselves out?
That's a great question. There are plenty of tools that can help with behaviors to help regulate oneself. Some tools may include like cognitive reframing or restructuring, self-reflection, and other kind of somatic-based work like breath work. And importantly, though, through relationships. So the key relationships will be really important. For instance, having the right coaches, parents, and mentors can model emotionally intelligent behaviors. So resilience isn't built in isolation. It should never be something one has to do in isolation.
I like that. I feel like that's such an important point. Like, resilience is not a solo act, even if the sport is. So, my question would be like, what are some resilience building techniques that you've seen work with young adolescents or young athletes?
So there's three really core areas I'll just go through briefly. One is emotional regulation. So the ability just to learn to sit with one's own emotional discomfort and and sit in it without completely shutting down and withdrawing. Secondly, there's cognitive reframing. So turning the self-talk, the thinking from something like I failed into, oh, I learned something. I gained something from that. And then third, mindful routines. So pre and post performance rituals that promote calm and reflection. So really having more positive self-talk going into the performance and then after as well.
Oh, that's really interesting. I feel like they should teach that in school. I think that would help a lot of athletes. Um, could you talk a bit about performance anxiety, like what it looks like and how it could be handled?
Yeah, this is a big one. So performance anxiety can, most of the time, it can manifest very physically. Um, you can notice sweaty palms, muscle tension, your nervous system's just getting really activated and revved up. Or emotionally, it can also manifest in emotional. So there can be a intense fear of failure an intense just sensation of shutting down physically, even. So techniques like breath work, visualization, and mental rehearsals are very effective. But most importantly, athletes do need safe spaces to discuss these issues openly with others whom they trust.
Okay, I feel like that's always really important in any mental health state. That's very nice. I want to touch on something else that doesn't get enough attention, like the lack of structured mental health support systems for young athletes. Because despite everything we know about the importance of mental resilience, I feel like there's still a huge gap within that and like sports psychology overall. Would you say so?
Yes, yes, and it is deeply concerning. We have nutrition plans, strength coaches, performance metrics, yet we rarely have mental health professionals as part of the training ecosystem. And even when resources are technically available, there is a cultural silence. It's really still such a big stigma and not talked about enough.
Yeah, I feel like that silence, like it can be dangerous, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah, the silence can be very dangerous. It allows for that self-doubt to spiral. People, athletes can get burnt out. Um, if it goes unchecked, it can even lead athletes to walk away from the sport entirely. Without open conversations and embedded support systems, young athletes internalize that sense of failure and they lose the joy that brought them to the sport in the first place. And that's really unfortunate.
I guess that makes sense. As we grow up, we think about stuff more. And I feel like it's not just personal loss, but like it's also systemic. Like we're failing them when we pretend mental health is a side note to performance, when in reality it's a really important part of it.
Exactly. It does need to be a big part of the game plan from the very beginning, and not just when something goes wrong, but from the very beginning and all throughout.
Well, thank you, Dr. Chen, for such powerful insights. If you're a coach, athlete, or a parent listening, just know that resilience, it's not just built on the track or piste. It's also built in moments of reflection, mindfulness, and open conversation. Thank you so much. Bye.
Welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.